Hey, good morning, everyone. Wow, it's 8:30 a.m. on Thursday, and you're all seated here and ready to go. I think each of you deserves a huge round of applause. So thank you. We'll get started. I'm Vinod. I'm a product manager on the Foundry team. Today, with my colleagues, Linda and Xiaoying, we're going to be walking through the Foundry tools catalog and a variety of different updates that we're rolling out. There's going to be lots of announcements and some live demos as well. So let's get started. Sorry, one second. All right. So you've heard from a lot of customers over the last couple of days of how their AI implementations have been critical to their business growth and driving even helping us improve the Foundry roadmap. This is just a small smattering of customers that we're working with that you've heard from in the past, some of them even, on how they're using existing capabilities like document intelligence, content understanding, speech, or language, and how they're driving value for their customers using these capabilities as Foundry tools. And so today, what we're going to do is really focus on some of these updates as they're rolling out, and we're also going to be hearing from KPMG on how they're transforming the audit process with AI. So at Ignite, you've heard about all the amazing updates rolling out into the Foundry, whether it be new models, whether it be agent framework, Foundry IQ. There's a lot of new updates. Today, we're really going to be focused on tools. Why tools, you ask? Because tools allow your agents to go from conversational helpers to actually working on solving real-world problems, activating on tasks. Just like how if you give a human a great set of tools, they become more productive and precise. In the same way, when you give an agent some tools, it can be more directed and effective at solving real-world problems. The core premise here being tools amplify intelligence. Without tools, your agents are stuck in, without context, they're operating just based on the knowledge that they contain within them. And they're stuck with like manual workflows or like highly fragmented solutions that just increase your implementation costs. With agents, you can now securely connect to live business data, call APIs, process multimodal content, all out of the box. What this does is it allows your agents to now be more precise, operate with context and trust, and solve your business problems. So let's take a look at how you can be more impactful at solving your business problems with Foundry tools. Today, we're introducing Foundry tools. And Foundry tools is a collection of a few different components. First, you have all the pre-built tools. And these are tools like content understanding, language, and speech. So these are tools that you've been using in the past. There's also a wide variety of third-party tools and MCP servers that are now available for you to use. And finally, you can also bring the tools that are core to your business and your operations into a private tools catalog that you can now make available as part of Foundry tools for the rest of your organization to build with. So to tell us more about all of the amazing updates being rolled out into Foundry tools, please welcome on stage my colleague, Linda. Hey, Linda.
Hey. Thanks so much, Vinod, for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm Linda. I'm a product manager on Microsoft Foundry.
Great. Linda, thank you for being here. So one of the things we've heard a lot from customers is this paradox of choice problem, where there's so many tools, there's so many protocols, there's so many ways that you can configure these tools. How is the Foundry helping customers with the discoverability problem?
This is a great question, Vinod, and we have heard from customers multiple times that it's really hard to find a set of tools that they trust and are ready to use. And this week at Ignite, we're rolling out a set of new features and updates that help our developers build AI applications, agentic applications, with tools that can reason over business context or act on business systems. Let's see what we got here. So as you can see, this is the tools catalog. Everything that Vinod just mentioned is landing in the tools catalog in Foundry. I'm going to take the next few minutes to show you around the tools catalog, the partner tools, the MCP servers, and how to build your private tools, how to build your private tools catalog, and more. And you can see here, we have more than 1,400 tools in the Foundry tools catalog right now. And among those, I want to highlight the Agent 365 MCP servers, which you probably have heard multiple times past week. are currently available in Foundry to all of our customers in the Frontier tenant. What that meant is you don't need to go back to your Outlook, trying to dig into your thousands of emails, trying to find the most important email for you. With Foundry Agent Service, you can ask a simple natural language query. The Foundry agent will find the right important email for you. And since the Foundry agent also has context of what's your goal of your agent, how you want to operate, some of other guidelines that it has access to, so it will draft the proper response to you. Before I go to the next slide, I want to, sorry, technical issues as we all expected.
Yeah, you should be able to just hit next at the play.
Oops. Why?
All right.
It's OK.
We can keep going.
Yeah.
Trust me, there's a variety of different tools that we can look at in that, that tools catalog, right?
So yeah, before I go back, let's zoom out a little bit and double click on the 3 types of tools that we have in Foundry Tools. The first one, as Vinod mentioned, the preview tools that are previously known as Azure AI services. And the second type are the 1,400 tools in the Foundry Tools catalog. And trust me, this is just the number of today. And this number is growing every day, day by day. And the third one are the custom tools. We heard from our customers that, yes, the public tools catalog is great, but I also have my private API, my private tools. I want to bring them over to Foundry Agent Service. How do I do that? And regardless of protocol, we can enable you to bring your tools over either through A2A protocol, Open API specification, or the most popular one, MCP servers. And I also want to emphasize that the tools in Foundry Agent Service and in Microsoft Foundry are powered by our enterprise-ready governance, evaluation, and observability. You can use Azure Policy to manage the tools, or using Azure AI Gateway to control the runtime traffic. We won't be able to do all of those just by ourselves. And this is actually a good slide if I just got stuck here. That you can see we already onboard a set of leading partners, including Allusion, Box, Stripes, and much more into our Foundry Tools catalog with their official MCP server. That means when you are building an agent in Microsoft Foundry, you can extend your agent applications beyond Microsoft ecosystem, from the productivity tools to developer tools, from working with data from web to working with data around security and finance. All those data and information are available to you for you to use right now in Foundry Tools catalog. A specific set of partners I want to highlight are our database partners. The mission of Foundry is to make sure that we meet developers where they are. And a part of that is we want to allow developers to bring data wherever their data is. And with our Microsoft internal, Microsoft built databases, such as Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Postgres DB, and also we are bringing a set of external database partners, such as Elastic, Pinecone, and Mongo. OK. But no, I think we have talked enough. Regardless, my slide got stuck here. What if let's just go demoing and I'll show.
Yeah, so look, maybe we just extend through this a little bit, and we try to figure out why we're stuck with the slides. I guess we'll try to hit this over here, and maybe that makes a difference. For whatever reasons, our slides are stuck. All right, so there we go. We'll just do the old-fashioned way of doing this, right? So recently, I was on a trip, and I went to Spain, and I ended up falling sick. And I thought, I ended up going to the hospital, had to go get myself through the process. Everything turned out OK. But when I came back from my trip, I found myself looking at photos and memories that included some things like this, right? So I had a hospital discharge document, I had some receipts, and I had all these documents. And I'm thinking, what's the best way for me to go about filing a claim, right? And as I was thinking about that, I was thinking, OK, it would be great to have an agent that could help me actually file the claim versus just be a conversational helper and say, yes, you can file a claim.
Yeah.
So is this a challenge that we can take on where we say, let's go try to build an agent that actually does all of this in a way that is secure, using the Foundry tools and making sure we have the right identity plumbed in and all of these things?
Yeah, for sure, Vinod.
right.
Let's do it.
Let's try and do that.
Yeah, if I were with Vinod, I'll really be so nervous because this is my first time encountering an out-of-country claim. I don't know what's the process for it. I don't know if my insurance even accept out-of-country claim. What's the process for it? How long it will take? So, I don't have any way to find the answer except reading my 400-page long policy documentation. But with Java Insurance Agent, right now it can give me answers with only a few lines of query, natural language query I can ask. So let's look at my Java Insurance Agent here. So let's start with small. Let's start with only two tools. Right now I have Azure Database Genie MCP server. I have SharePoint tool. And what it does is Azure Database Genie will be able to generate some insight over the historical anonymous case data that can tell me, OK, based on the past data we have seen, how long it will take for your case based on the information you have provided. And SharePoint will use identity pass-through to use my identity to retrieve documentation that I have access to. That means it will only retrieve documentation from policy document that's applicable to me. So let's start. So the first thing I'm going to tell my Java Insurance Agent is, hey, I'm really worried about my out-of-country claims. How long does it usually take to get a claim approved? And based on the query here, the agent determined that, oh, it will be beneficial if I can just get some historical data from Azure Database to help you answer this question. So as you can see here, since it's MCP server, and with all of the MCP server integration into Foundry Agent Service, we have required approval by default. So before the agent actually send out the tool calling to the MCP server, as a user of the agent, I can review what you want to send to the MCP server and make sure that that's the exact query I want to send out. So it's telling me, OK, it's approximately 41 days. I'm feeling much better right now. It's not insanely long. And the next question I'm going to ask is, OK, what's the process of actually filing this claim? So I'm going to say, OK, that's not bad. What's the process of filing a claim? And this time, instead of me going back to my SharePoint and trying to read my 400-page of documentation, trying to find the right response line by line, now the Java Insurance Agent is able to retrieve the relevant document from those 400-page long documentation, find the right information for me. Let's review a little bit, on the fourth bullet point, obtain a certified English translation for any non-English documents. Fifth, complete the international claim form. OK, that's new for me. And sixth, you can submit it through the email. And if you have more questions, please contact us, things like those. And if I just want to double-click, or if I just want to learn more about the information, I can simply just click the citation it links to and go to my documentation and my policy doc to read more about the policy. OK. Right now, after a few chats with my Java Insurance Agent, I felt much more ready to get started and actually start filing my claim. OK, back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much for walking us through all the amazing updates rolling out into the Foundry, specifically Foundry tools around all the new things with public pre-built tools as well as a private MCP server. Those are amazing things that customers can start immediately using and getting value from. So thank you so much for walking us through all of that.
Thank you.
So as you can see, we've got our insurance agent working. But the insurance agent, while it's working, is still a conversational helper. It's not quite done anything meaningful for us, which we wanted to do, which is really how do you go about filing a claim, right? And in order to do that, what we're going to work on next is we're going to look at how we can integrate content understanding into the process. Content understanding is a service that is a multimodal content processing service. And if you think about each one of your organizations, contracts, documents, images, audio, and video is how your business gets done. What content understanding does is it takes any of this content and can take all this unstructured data and convert that into a structured output that you can now use effectively into your business processes. And today, I'm super excited to announce to you that content understanding is now generally available. Content understanding, yeah, thank you. So we've been on this journey with content understanding for a little bit of time, so it's great to see that we're now generally available. We're available in a variety of different regions from the US, UK, Europe, Asia, Australia. And in addition to this, content understanding now has a few different updates that we'll be walking through as we look at like how you might integrate content understanding into your workflow. If you're not aware, content understanding is also the tool that's being used in Foundry IQ for all of your content integration or ingestion within Foundry IQ. So it's already being used. If you use Foundry IQ, you're already been using content understanding. So let's talk a little bit about like how customers are using content understanding today, right? You can see KPMG has built a new platform called Clara AI. And what Clara AI does is it essentially enables an audit worker to generate an effective graph of information across all of the different documents. So what Clara AI does is it uses content understanding to parse through the document, extract all this unstructured content, convert into a structured output, connect that information within documents and across documents, and provide a unified view for each of the different auditors as they're going through this process. The way content understanding does this is it uses the analyzers in content understanding for the different document types, obviously, extracts the content as well as the structured output, using the confidence scores to then effectively identify what needs to be reviewed, and then process that information and make it available for each of these auditors to then effectively use as part of the audit process. And this is just one small component of the whole Clara AI application. Clara AI is something that KPMG is building and rolling out to over 95,000 auditors worldwide, and it's going to transform the way KPMG audits documents and enables value for their customers. So let's take a look at how you can use some of these same capabilities in the application that we're building or the application that you're going to eventually build. So content understanding has a few different capabilities, and we'll step through these in a little bit of detail here. So the heart of what content understanding does is through the concept of an analyzer. What an analyzer does is it goes through a multi-step process where the first thing it does is it actually looks at the entire content and determines what it needs to do with the content, right? Depending on how you've configured the analyzer, it can split and classify documents and videos and into different segments, and then route each of these segments down to a downstream analyzer for further analysis. That is essentially the task of operating on that particular item. What you'll notice here is each of these analyzers is task-specific. It really works on one thing, and it's precise, and it's targeted to do one thing. But you can still give it a large content, in this case, like a single file that contains multiple documents, for example, and it can break this problem down and switch the cardinality of the problem and say, I can start with one file and generate an output that contains multiple documents. And we'll take a look at this as we go along later. Another big update that we're rolling out as part of this new GA release is this ability for you to now connect to Foundry models. In plain speak, that really means it's a bring your own capacity sort of scenario, right? But it unlocks a ton of value for you as a customer, because what you can do now is consolidate your usage across PTUs, for example, ensure that you have the right deployments that are shared, and just be able to use the service more effectively. As we look at some of the new capabilities that are rolling out, you can also see that, sorry, I have to make sure that I am clicking through here and not on my. Right, so as you look at some of the new capabilities rolling out, you'll see the output from content understanding contains a few different things. The first thing you'll notice on the left is you get the entire content of the document, right? So you get all the content that's extracted. But you also defined a custom schema, right? Because you're processing a specific document, you need this particular schema, and this is what your task-specific schema requires. And so that's the output that you're getting as well. And this schema can be like obviously simple fields like strings and numbers, but it could also be more complex fields like tables, lists, and objects, right? Each of these fields also comes with two specific components that are super useful as you go through the process of using the output. The first is a confidence score. What the confidence score allows you to do is straight-through processing. So you can set it the confidence score threshold and just process the content without requiring any human review. So you eliminate the need for an expensive human review if the content passes the threshold of the confidence score. And when you do need to validate the content, you now have a grounded output that tells you where in the content the actual value is extracted from. And so it's an easy process as you go through this review. So let's talk a little bit about how we're making it dramatically easier and more effective for you to use content understanding, right? So we started by adding over 50 pre-built analyzers that now you can start using as you go through the process, right? So a common document type that you process, whether it's in the legal domain, whether it's in the financial services domain, whether it's in healthcare, there's a variety of different analyzers that you can just absolutely start using. Another improvement is this new RAG-specific output that we're generating. So what we see a lot of is customers want to use content understanding as a preprocessor for RAG, and so we're really building a targeted analyzer for this. What this does is, in addition to the outputs that we generate, it also does things like summarizing the information and doing some figure understandings, right? So if you've got figures and charts in your graph, it's able to understand what those mean and make those LLM readable and available for the LLM to read them over as part of your RAG pipelines. So Azure Search, for example, is now starting to use content understanding. It's one of the options that you can use as you're ingesting content into Search. So these are just ways that you can use content understanding more effectively. We're also adding choice, right? So as I shared with you earlier, you have the ability to bring your own model deployments. Now we're adding the ability for you to choose your model as well, right? So currently we support the 4.0 and 4.0 and 4.1, GPT-4o and GPT-4.1 model families. So if you've got a complex document like a contract, you can use the GPT-4.1 model. If you have a really simple document like a letter of credit or something like that, you can just use the GPT-4.1 mini, for example, right? So those are just ways that you can be more effective in how you choose the model that works best for the scenario that you're working with. And finally, trust, right? As you think about all of the ways that you need to ensure that your data is private and secure, ensuring that all of the data that you process stays within your trust boundaries, VNets allows you to do that. When you use content understanding, all of your data is encrypted by default, but with customer managed keys, you can now double encrypt this data using a key that you manage. And finally, with things like Enter ID or managed identities, you've got the ability now to ensure that you have no secrets or credentials sprinkled around your code, and all of your code is also safe and secure. So it's just ready for enterprise use, and this is the experience that most enterprise developers experience, and this is what we're building as part of the new release that's rolling out in content understanding. All right, so I've talked a lot. So let's head back over to the demo, and let's see if we can get this thing to work now, right? So you can see, while we were going through this whole process, Zava now is a conglomerate. It's no longer just a retail store. It's now an insurance provider as well. And so we've got Zava Insurance that we're working with, right? The first thing you'll see is I've got a little app running here. This is essentially an ability for me to go interact with the Zava service, right? So I can go the traditional way and try to file a claim using the form, upload documents, put in all the information that I need. So basically, it's the insurance company making me do the work, or I could use this chat experience now and just use this chat experience to do this, right? So the first thing I'm just going to do, and this is a live demo, so I hope it works. So I'm going to say, I don't type well, so I'm just going to ask this question and say, like, can you file a claim for these medical expenses? I'm going to add a file, and we'll take a look at this file in a second here, right? I'm going to hit send. And while this is going off and churning on this ask, let's take a look at what I just did, right? So I uploaded a file, and this is the file that I'm using. You can see it's a file that contains 2 pages of a hospital discharge summary, and it has a receipt at the very end of it, right? So as we need to process this file, you'll see that while the agent is running and working on this process, let's take a look at what it's actually doing behind the scenes. So you see I have this single file that I input that has 3 pages, 2 pages of a discharge document or discharge report, and 1 page of a receipt. The first thing the agent's going to do is determine which of these analyzers out of the 50 pre-built and the custom ones that I've defined it's going to use as part of this process, right? Once it picks the analyzer, it's going to submit it for analysis, and the analyzer is then going to take this document, break up the task into the things that I have really defined within the analyzer, which is the segmentation task of saying, first segment this document into each of the different component documents, and then route each of these documents to the downstream analyzer. So in this case, I've said route the discharge report to the medical report analyzer, and route the receipt to a pre-built analyzer, just the pre-built receipt. That's the easiest one for me to process. So it's taking a single file, splitting it up into 2 documents, routing each of those to a downstream analyzer, taking those outputs, merging them back together, and producing that response back to the agent. So with that, let's go take a look and see what our agents actually come back with. So we'll come back here, and you'll see that the agent has come back with some information for me, right? It says, hey, this is what I found. I found a document type of a medical report, which is essentially the name of the analyzer that I'd given it, which is that. It has all the information that I extracted, that I required. You can see that it's taken a lot of the text that was in like paragraph form and converted it into a list, because that's essentially what I defined as the schema that I want. You'll also notice that some of these things have a little bit of a caution sign associated with them, because some of these extracted values didn't pass the confidence score threshold that I had set for this, right? So now the agent is able to look at these, identify that some of these items require attention, and it's flagging those for me for review and telling me that like I need to potentially look at these line items to ensure that this information was extracted correctly. All of this looks great. It also has the second document type, obviously, which is the receipt, and it's telling me this is a generic receipt, and it's extracted all these values. The line items are there. Everything looks good. The total is great. It's showing that it had 2 documents that it was able to analyze out of this document, out of this single file, and it also wants to convert it into USDs, which is great, because that's exactly what I need to do, right? So now I'm going to say, go ahead and file the claim. So that's just the confirmation that I need. And with that, the agent's going to go off and go use the other tools that it has access to, which is, for example, the Cosmos DB tool, to ensure that it can actually connect to a database and write this record in, right? So you'll see that it actually did all the work. It converted the claim from a euro to a US dollar. It submitted the claim, and it gave me a claim ID that I can look at, right? Oh, sorry, it's telling me that it's going to do all this work. So yes, I will say yes, and right? And so it's going to go off and do this work and submit all of this information. So there you see, you started with a single document, a single file that has all of this information, took all of it, submitted to an agent. The agent now knows how to parse out this information, do all this work that is really domain-specific, really specific to your organization, that has nothing to do with just the agent itself, but really your organization's core capabilities, and ensure that it can effectively create a record in the database that defines the work item that's needed within your organization, right? So you can see now it's created this new claim ID, or whatever this is that I have here. You can also go look at the Cosmos DB database to make sure that this particular claim is available. So I can go in here, I can go search for that and apply the filter, for example, and it should come back with, well, trust me, it's there. But for whatever reason, it's not listing anymore. So that's the risk of a live demo, I guess, right? We gotta try that, right? But hopefully this demonstrates the intent of like you can start from a single document, process all of this information. Your agent does not have to know all of these things. The tools are the ones that are actually doing the work in really processing this content, connecting to the databases, and really generating the value that you need from the art. So with that, let's head back over to our slides. Or actually, before we head back over to the slides, I do want to call out one thing, right? So if you look at the output that we generated here, you'll notice that even though it converted all the euros to dollars, there's still one issue here in the sense that a lot of this information is still in Spanish. So it's not really translated any of this text. So one of the challenges that we need to now solve is adding a translation capability into our agent. And in order to do that, I'm going to ask Xiaoying to come on stage and talk to us a little bit about like how we might make this agent more aware of some of these capabilities.
Thank you, Vinod.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Xiaoying. I'm the PM working on the Microsoft Foundry. So actually, I'm going to talk about a couple of new things we're having today. But first of all, let me actually unlock my demo machine. Cool. So first of all, like Vinod, as you mentioned, today we have the Azure translation in Foundry tools. And it's already supported multiple different content types. Like, of course, it supports the plain text. It also supports the native documents, like the PDF, the Word document. And in addition, today, actually, we're very excited to announce the document translation also support images. So that's including the JPEG, the PNG, et cetera. So let's see how it works. So here, I'm actually going to use this demo app I built on top of the latest translator API. And let's just get started. And first of all, of course, I'm going to upload an image. And actually, I'm going to use the same discharge form that you shared earlier.
Okay.
But this time, instead of a PDF, I'm actually making that, turn that into a scanned image. So a lot of times, our customer actually also scan the document, and it turns out to be an image. And in addition to that, I'm also adding a little bit challenge here because a lot of times the documents, and especially the images, that contains a lot of like the rich format, the style. So here you see there's the logo, there are different like font styles, there's the color in the background, etc. And now I'm going to translate that. Let me choose, I guess, the English language that other people here understand, and then start translating that. And what will happen behind the scene is that it's actually translator service leverage the OCR and the document intelligence, and then it'll extract the text from the images, and then translate the text, and then return that back and inject that back into the images. And of course, depends on the internet. It seems the network is actually better than expected. So now you can see this is the translated images, and you can see it's exactly following the same, like the style, format, colors, etc. The only difference is that instead of Spanish, now it's English.
That's great. That's great. It's amazing, right? So I noticed that you're using layout kind of document intelligence to take the exact layout and replace it with the translated text. That's super cool. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So one of the challenges that we always have, right, and I think this is the case with this Java agent as well, is some of this content is not always going to be in a like simple English language or simple Spanish language. It's going to have like really like domain-specific language.
Right.
And when we translate it, we need to ensure that this translation is effective. Do you think you have some tools that can help customers do that?
Yeah, of course. Actually, you're actually talking about another new features we're announcing today. That's called adaptive custom translation. And like I remember in the old days when we need to customize the translation or actually customize anything for a AI model, we need to have like experts in the science, and they have to spend the time to prepare the data, train the model. It takes a long time. And now with the adaptive custom translation, it can just happen within seconds. So I'm going to actually switch to another tab and show you how like quickly you can get that. And actually, you can also try that today in the new Foundry portal in the text translation playground. And here, I've already pasted the clinical note from that discharge form. Here, I'm going to translate that to the English as well. And text translation actually also support multiple different models that you can choose. It comes with the default building models that you can use for translation. You can also choose any GPT models of your choice. So I'm just pick one out-of-the-box model. So let's see, like from the out-of-the-box models, how they works. And here you can see the result actually is not bad. But one thing I want to point out is here, as you can see, the translation actually, let me find the original Spanish word is called analytica. So with my very limited Spanish knowledge, analytica here is translated to analysis. It's actually not wrong. It's still the correct translation. But like Vinod, as you mentioned, in the medical context, it's better to translate that into lab test. So now I'm going to use the adaptive customization. And here, there are two ways you can customize that. Either you provide like a few pairs of the reference examples directly, or the other is you can also manage all of those reference examples in the database and then provide the database index. So here, just for this quick demo, I'm going to just manually add that. So that's analytica. The target will be the lab tests, and as simple as that. And of course, like if you have more complex scenarios to translate that with more complex like sentences, you can also add the sentences here as well. So I'm going to save that and run the translation again and see whether the magic happens. OK, so here you can see now it translates again, and now it translates analytica into lab test.
Wow, cool. That's fast, right? Like that. Like immediately allows you to iterate and build it super fast. That's pretty cool. All right, let's ask one final challenge, right? Which is this agent needs to send some information for a human to review, like maybe an agent or like a insurer, like an underwriter, for example. And some of this information might need to be protected, like in the sense, like if they have some social security number or they have some private information that needs to be masked out. Can we do that?
Yeah, of course. Actually, in addition to the Azure Translator in Foundry Tools, we also have the Azure Language in Foundry Tools. And it contains a rich set of the language AI tools, including one thing that actually can help you, that is the PR redaction, to redact the sensitive information. So let me switch to another thing. And speaking of that, and today we're also announcing the remote MCP server support for Azure Language. And that makes you use all of those tools super easy in the agent setup. And I'm going to show that in this doc process agent I'll quickly put together. And I've already added some instruction there to do the doc processing. The only thing now I'm going to add is the remote MCP server. So to add that, actually, it's very easy to find in the two catalog that Linda introduced earlier. And you can find that here in the Azure Language in Foundry Tools, and then just provide your resource names and keys, or it also supports the Entra ID. And then to save the time, actually, I'm going to select the one I've already set up. And now we can test that in the playground. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the same discharge form, but this time I've already translated it into the English, so everybody can read that. And then I'm also going to, for the very quick test, I'm going to ask the agent to just go ahead to redact a few specific entities from the attached documents. And of course, you can, there are many more entities supported by the PR redaction services here. And here I'm just choose 3 examples. And what it does for now is it's processing the document, it's extract the text, and now you can see with the remote MCP server, the agent understands it needs to use the redact PI tool from the server. And let's quickly approve that. And then it'll send all of those information to use the tools. And here, we can see all of those sensitive information, like the names, telephone number, are redacted and masked with the characters here.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. So anything else you want to share with us about what else is new in language?
Yeah, so there are actually more things we're announcing today. So how about let's just quickly go through the remaining slides.
Yeah, I can hit them for you.
OK, so as you can see in the demo, we're announcing today first, in Azure Translator, we have the new image support for document translation. And we see the adaptive custom translation. And in addition to that, in the upcoming weeks, we are also releasing a new version of the pre-built large translation model with better performance, better quality, latency, et cetera. And then next for the Azure language. And we've already seen in the demo the remote MCP server support. And with the new features in the PR detection, there are also more options for the masking and new types there. There are more options for you to control how you want the PIs to be redacted. And in addition to that, we didn't have the time to show it, but we do have actually,
oh, sorry.
You can go one slide back. We have the new entity slot filling support in the intent routing as part of the conversational language understanding. And that will help you to better capture, extract the condensed context from your conversations in agent. So now let's actually get to the speech. And again, we don't have a lot of time to talk all the details, but we do have a few great things released at Ignite for the Azure Speech, including the phone avatar support for the voice live and the live interpreter APIs, the large language model speech APIs, and also the remote MCP server support for Azure Speech as well. And again, if you're interested to getting more details, the good news is that we're actually going to have another session focusing on the Azure Speech new features that is available later today. So please come and join us for that session as well. So that's all the things I want to share.
Wow, that's a lot of updates. Thank you so much, Xiaoying.
Thank you
for
Thank you,
joining
everyone.
us. All right, so as we're wrapping up, I wanted to leave you with one thought, right? Which is, as you think about how tools are amplifying intelligence, you can go build a lot of these capabilities that you've seen on the stage today into your applications, take your agents from being just conversational agents to more action-oriented agents that actually perform tasks on your behalf and do solve your problems in the real world. So as you think about this, think about how Foundry Tools enables you to more securely, scalably, and with confidence build these agents and have them work for you or have them perform these tasks for you on your behalf within the organizations you are working in. So we're excited to see what you're going to build with all the new amazing capabilities rolling out in Foundry tools. Thank you so much for your time today, and hope you enjoy the rest of Ignite.